Shalom. This week's Sedra is Sedra Vayechi. One doesn't have to be a real estate agent to know that the most important factors in real estate are location, location, and location. More than the size, anything else, the amenities the house contains, its location is the primary attribute that can boast to sell itself. Orthodox Jews required to be within walking distance of a synagogue are familiar with the primacy of location as it pertains to real estate. The choice of the location of a house or office are minor choices compared to the location of our resting place for eternity. The choice of a grave is a choice for eternity. What role does location play in choosing a grave? At the start of this week's Torah portion, Yaakov is preparing for his own demise. He calls his son Yosef, the ruler of Egypt, with the power to fulfill Yaakov's dying wish. It is at this point that God wrote, when the time approached for Israel to die, he summoned his son Yosef and said to him, "Do me this favor. Place your hand under my thigh as a pledge of your steadfast loyalty. Please do not bury me in Egypt. When I lie down with my fathers, take me up from Egypt and bury me in their burial place." Yosef replied, "I will do as you have spoken." It's interesting to note that Yaakov made two requests: to be taken out of Egypt and to be buried in the same place as Avraham and Yitzchak, his father and grandfather. If Yaakov had only asked to be buried with his fathers in Hebron, it would have been obvious that Yaakov wanted to be taken out of Egypt. Why did Yaakov feel the need to explicitly say that he wanted to be taken out of Egypt? In his commentary to Yaakov's request to be taken out of Egypt, Rashi wrote, "Egypt's soil will ultimately become lice, which would swarm beneath my body. Furthermore, those who die outside the land of Israel will not live again at the resurrection, except after pain caused by their body rolling through underground passages until it reaches Eretz Yisrael." Another reason Yaakov wanted to be taken out of Egypt is to ensure that the Egyptians wouldn't make Yaakov's body or tomb the object of idolatrous worship. The Das Zakanim wrote that according to the Medrash, Yaakov's request to be buried in the land of Canaan inspired Yosef to make the same request of his brothers when the time came for him to die. We find that Yosef indeed made his brothers swear that his remains would be taken with the Jews at the time of the redemption from Egypt, and Moshe personally was involved in locating his coffin, which was carried with the Jews for 40 years until eventually being interred near Shechem in the tribal territory of Ephraim, one of Yosef's sons. While our sages disagree whether the dead are aware of events among the living, all can agree that the dead don't reside in their graves. The location of a deceased person's grave should have no effect on the dead after they pass on. Why was the location of his burial so important to Yaakov? I heard from my Rebbe, Rabbi Soel Zucker Shlita, that the location one chooses for their burial is a demonstration of their values and the last statement they make for their legacy. It sends a message to their children, students, and descendants of what is important to them. As the time for his death approached, Yaakov wanted two lessons to be taught to his descendants through his burial. The first, that a Jew shouldn't be tied to Egypt. The second, that a Jew should be tied to the values of the forefathers. These two lessons were so important to Yaakov that he makes Yosef take an oath that they be carried out. What an important lesson. Shabbat Shalom.